We are excited here at Eclipse Quilting to introduce our new Tension Boss. It's a device that makes tension setting a repeatable process and one that is easy to use. Without a Tension Boss, the typical tension device has a knob and it has numbers on it. And a lot of nice folks think that when you turn it, the number means how tight it is, and that's not the case. Those numbers are only there so that you can see how tight you've got it in relation to the number at the top. For example, when I started tightening, the 2 was at the top. Now the 2 is at the bottom, and sometimes we call that the 6 o'clock. So I've tightened it a half of a turn. Okay. Then if I need to tighten it another half turn, I'm going to turn it till the 2 is up at the top. Now sometimes that's kind of confusing. Okay. So we at Eclipse Quilting have got our patent pending device called the Tension Boss. We've got it at a nice introductory price, but here's the Tension Boss. We'll start by taking your tensioner apart. This is real important because it'll help you to learn how a tensioner works. So we take off the knob, just unscrew it. Got lots of threads. Oops, things fell down. So there's the knob. Here's the little washer. Then we've got a beehive-shaped spring. You can see it there. Then there's a big washer that has a slot cut in it. This washer is used on machines that have a presser foot lifter, and it's used to release the tension so you can pull thread through it. A lot of quilting machines don't use that feature or don't have that feature enabled, so we're going to not even use that. We're going to set it aside and replace it with our Tension Boss. The next thing that's on here are the 2 discs. They're concave in shape. They have a smooth side and then a sharp side. And then as you can see, the thread just goes between those 2 discs. There's all of our pieces. 2 discs, they literally squeeze the thread between them. There's the spring that pushes on those 2 discs. That determines how tight it's squeezed between the discs. And here's a little ratchet washer, and then here's the nut. So you're literally tightening the nut to squeeze the thread tighter and tighter. So a lot of times we have found that when people have the thread way too tight, a tension, you'll start breaking thread, okay? And so we've made the Tension Boss so it makes it impossible to tighten the thread too tight. And you'll see how that works in just a second. So we have a split shaft here with threads on it that nut goes on that has the numbers on it. So sometimes these get squoze together, so we're going to put a screwdriver between them and very carefully pry those apart. Not very much. If you do it too much, you might break it. Okay, I think I've done it enough. If you look at the groove, I've got it a little bit wider at this end than it is down at this end. And that's what I want. I want it to be tight on that nut. Okay, so now it's time to put it back together for our tension boss. You put the first disc on with its nice shiny side that's concave in, and then you put its partner there, concave side touching the other one. And now it's time for the tension boss. You get it out of the little plastic bag that it comes in. It has a hole in it. You put the hole on the shaft. Then you put on the spring. The spring has a little bend that goes in that middle slot that we just widened up. There it is. And next, we put the washer on, followed by the nut. I'm going to have to put the camera down to do this, so hold on a second. Okay, we've got some help holding the camera. Now I'm taking this washer that I described. It has little notches on it. Those notches should be facing out. You get that washer in there. Then there's the nut. You start tightening it righty-tighty, and it starts going on. Okay, so now the tension boss is installed. It's that simple. Now you'll notice there are little lines here. They're measurement lines. They have numbers on them, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then we also have red lines in between them. So the odd numbers are the red lines, and the dark numbers are the black lines. Okay, so now from this view you can see that there is our lines that we're going to pay attention to, and then through this slot we can see the edge of the nut. Now that is our new line for adjusting our tension. So as you look at it right now, you can see that I'm on 5. The line lines up with the red line indicating a tension of 5. As I keep tightening it, it goes towards the 6 line. And then as I keep tightening it, the angle of the camera is making it so you can't see that it lines up. But it's actually lining up with the line. So as I tighten it, I'm getting to the too tight area, and look what happens over here. When the knob is so tight that you can't turn it, that should tell you something. It should tell you you're too tight, okay? So this little tension boss will prevent you from tightening it way too tight. So I'm going to pull on the boss. You can see that the spring is holding it up against these tension discs. And we've got it dialed really tight. So, it's also not threaded properly. So now it's threaded properly, and as I pull on that thread, it's just way too tight. You can hear it. So I'm going to back it off and put it back into the zone where it should be. Now everything affects your tension. If it's a rainy day, there's more humidity in the air. And you'll have to adjust your tension because your thread will absorb it. So a tension adjust on a quilting machine is not like on a home sewing machine where you never adjust it. On a quilting machine, you adjust it every time you start quilting to make sure your tension is right. So you can see now that I'm right about tension of 4, and it's pulling pretty nicely. There you go, I've loosened it even more. So we're sitting at about a 4 on tension. Now if you have trouble seeing those lines, you just turn the tension boss, and you can see it from the front of the machine. If you want to see it from the front, you just turn it, and you can see the tension from the front. If you're looking at it from the side, you turn it, and you can look at it from the side. So it's that simple. You adjust it righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, ignoring these numbers, but watching the lines up here so you can see how tight your spring is getting. Then when you've got the perfect tension adjusted for your thread and machine and quilt, you write down the number that you're set at. Right there, I'm on 4 still. And next quilt, I would start with it at 4 and then adjust it from there. So from now on, you'll have an easy reference to see if your tension is set right and an easy way to remember it. So this is available now from eclipsequilting.com. We've got a special on it during the national emergency, so if you order it, you'll pay a far less price than it will be at the next show. Thanks.